Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Joel? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome, everybody. This is for our special City Council meeting of February 10th, 2026. Start with a roll call, please.
Weber?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Crusader?
Present.
Maynard?
Present.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Appleby is excused.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Next, we move to public comments. We have two people. Portia, do you want to start?
Hi.
Hi.
I spoke to the council back in April or May regarding my concern about the water issue to the south side of Spruce Drive. That was before we had the heavy rain, July 11th of '25. I've got some pictures that I brought with descriptions on the back that I'd like to pass around.
You bet.
I guess my concern is I'm just still concerned about the water that collects back there, and I know there's been a retention pond that has been built. My concerns, I had thought about purchasing a flood insurance policy, and after the July 11th episode with the heavy rains and stuff, I did end up purchasing one. I guess I have a question that if the engineers have signed off that everything's okay back there regarding the water, who's responsible if we do get flooded? Is it Steve G. or would it be Crawford Engineering? Who is responsible?
I'm not sure I can answer your question directly, which I'd like to do. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of that tonight. I mean, that's the topic for the conversation, specifically that the newest development of Steve G. and also the retention pond. And we have a discussion that has to take place, and I hope to get it all done tonight, and we might have some more at a later time. But I don't know if it's going to answer your question 100% in terms of responsibility, but we are aware that you've got concerns, and we're aware that others have concerns, and we're looking at it.
Okay.
Okay?
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, I can't pronounce your last name. I apologize. Okay.
Hi, I'm Tom Selesky, president of the Goldfinch Homeowners Association, and we have condos adjacent on the north side of Bluebird. And as you drive down Spruce, you'll notice on the south that the grade gets higher as you go west. And when we get a rain, guess where that water's going? It's all going to come down onto the condos in Spruce. Now, there is some kind of a little drainage in the back of the backyards on Spruce, which can handle normal rains, and it goes into a culvert. But as far as I'm concerned, with 13 condos out there, and primarily older people, when we get some heavy storms, they're going to be worrying about being flooded out, because it's going to be a river of water coming down behind those condos. And Cardinal Court has 10 condos, and some of them are no further than 30 feet, 20 to 30 feet from the small retention pond that they have built there. Mm-hmm. And 2 of them have basements, and I don't know if they have water in the basements or not. But I certainly urge a water study to be completed on this. So the residents, we already have one that has flood insurance. She's afraid she's going to get water in her condo. You shouldn't have to have flood insurance unless you live alongside of a river or a creek or anything like that floods out. not in a flat area out there where we live. Who's going to pay for this flood insurance if we do get condos flooded out?
Can you remind me which homeowners association that you're the president of? I didn't catch it.
Goldfinch.
Oh, the Goldfinch.
Goldfinch Homeowner Association. We have 40 members. 20 of them are on cul-de-sac going north, and we have 20 on Spruce Street on the south side, which is adjacent to Bluebird.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks. Okay, let's move then to to item number 5. I'd like to start with a motion to accept the final plat of the Pines 3rd Edition and authorize the mayor to sign the attached resolution. So first, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Okay. Matt, do you want to start us off with what's been going on? I know you've got, can show us too.
If everything works. So you wanted me to give an overview of kind of where we are in the area.
Yes, please.
So Bluebird Court, this new subdivision, this plat that you guys are considering tonight is the empty area that's in the middle here. You'll have to follow my mouse on the screen. That's the best pointer I've got. Steve has met all of the requirements that we have for that, with the exception of Lot B, the stormwater issue that's for that detention basin. During construction, that detention basin, or during construction, there was found a stormwater line that runs from Juniper in between these two houses, runs up, there's what was thought to be construction debris here, but was actually a manhole, and then runs, before the construction, it ran further north up and I believe tied into Spruce Drive somewhere around here. During construction, because that was not known at the time that they did the final plat and did the construction plans,
Preliminary plat, right?
the preliminary plat, yes. They found that line while they were doing the construction, and so they intercepted that line. They opened it so that it drains into the south side of that new detention basin and then drains back out of the north side of the detention basin. Finding that and having that in the detention basin is what has caused Fair Graham to have some concern about it. Doesn't, I know Crawford's point of view is that it's fine because obviously you can't have more water flowing out of a 30-inch pipe than you can have flowing into a 30-inch pipe on the other side. But the issue, I think, for Fair Graham is they just don't feel like they've got enough data or information about it to know whether or not things are going to work the way that the design was structured or was originally set up to work. So that's kind of where we are with it.
Is the 30-inch pipe on both the north and the south side?
Yeah, it used to run straight through where that detention basin was built. So it runs then now to the south side of the detention basin and then runs out of the north side of the detention basin.
Okay, is there water from the north coming south also, or is the water only going south to north?
The water goes north through there. It runs from Juniper, runs north through here, comes up to Spruce, goes under Spruce, along the edge of Spruce there, and then runs under 6th Avenue and comes out into this detention, or this drainage ditch that you see on the east side of 6th Avenue here, where it then turns north and makes its way up to the Wapsie. And we just recently figured out that that's where that goes. We initially, when we were looking at it, thought that it ran over to here and then came south along 6th Avenue. But then we had our guys go out and televise it, and there is a pipe going underneath there to the east, and that's where that water flows. So this pipe that's here is bringing water from this area into it and then going under the street and then heading north.
Okay. Cut just a couple of things. Planning and zoning looked at this, and planning and zoning recommended that the city council approve the Pines 3rd Edition final plat of survey and accept the public improvements as submitted, contingent upon items outlined in the agreement for delayed installation of public improvements being completed. This was done on January 6th of 2026, and for the most part, everything that, correct me if I'm wrong, for the most part, everything that was part of the agreement for the delayed installation has all been taken care of.
So we started, the reason that we did that was because around that time frame, we were trying to figure out how to help Steve move forward with the project, but we had delays waiting on suppliers for the electric lights, for one, for the street lights. So that was the whole reasoning for doing an agreement for delayed installment of improvements, was to give Steve that additional time to do that. One of the other things that needs to be done is there is a storm drainage swale that needs to be graded behind, and I can change to the plat, would be probably better for this discussion. There's a stormwater swale that needs to be graded. I believe it comes somewhere in between, in between lot 7, and then goes north over here behind lots 8 and 9. I know that's really hard to see, but that's where it goes through there. I don't think I can, I can't change my pointer on this. So that needs to be installed, but it can't be installed until you put those houses in, because you can't go out there and grade it today and then turn around and mess it all up when you go to put foundations in. So that's something that'll be handled through the building permit process. When those building permits are applied for lots 7, 8, and 9, that's something that Matt Chesmore will be watching to make sure that swale gets built with that.
And that swale, the intention of that would be to run water south, correct, not north?
It runs north through here and then runs along here and comes into the detention basin.
Okay.
Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the overland overflow for some of the stuff that's along Bluebird, is that correct?
Correct.
So if the storm sewer pipe that's along Bluebird was unable to take the water for some reason, then it would come out of the stormwater inlet there and come across and then get into the detention basin that way.
Correct.
Okay.
Which that's solid design, because every time you design a stormwater system, you want an overflow there.
Is that basin a 30-inch intake?
The 30-inch,
Where's that 30-inch that you were talking about?
so the 30-inch intake, let's see if I can zoom in on this and make it a little easier to see. This easement that runs across here, across to lot 11,
Okay.
that is the 30-inch pipe that comes from the subdivision to the south. It runs to here, it turns, and then it comes into the basin approximately in this area. Is
Okay.
that, Brian, do you feel like that's right?
Correct.
Now, so there's nothing that runs from the basin to the area along 6th then?
There's an overflow structure.
But further north then?
So there's two things that exit the detention basin now. You have a 30-inch pipe that goes north underground to the street that's up here, Spruce, and then you also have the designed overflow structure that's on the east end of the basin that allows water to go out, and I want to say it's a 15 or 24-inch pipe that goes out there from the overflow. 24, thank you, that goes out to the 6th Avenue Southwest ditch. And then there's also a rip-wrapped overflow structure that runs out through there that I want to say is at like 915.
Emergency overflow spillway.
Yeah, but it's lower than any of the houses that are adjacent to it to the north.
Correct.
So you have a 30-inch and a 24-inch pipe both coming out of that area
Well, the 24-inch has a control structure on it because it's designed to allow that detention basin to fill and then
to
release
fill
slowly.
and slowly
Right.
seep.
Which is one of the things that we don't know how it will act now because it has that 30-inch pipe going out. So that 30-inch pipe's going to have to fill and be flowing water out before the detention basin would fill.
Correct.
So that's why we feel like there needs to be some additional study. When I say we, I mean the city engineer and city staff feel like there needs to be some additional analysis of that detention basin and how that functions.
Okay.
That's why you have two differing opinions here. Crawford believes that everything is good the way it is, which I understand the reasonings for that. And then you have Fairgraham saying it could be, but we don't have enough information to know that for sure.
Okay, so let me so in your packet on 10 is the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes. The Crawford letter, which is dated December the 18th of 2025, which is item number 9, and in it they indicate that the quality assurance test results for public infrastructure show compliance with the SUDA standards for acceptance. And they're recommending the acceptance of public improvements for the Pines 3rd Edition to Iowa, to Independence, Iowa. And then the Fairgraham letter is item number 8 in your packet, and it indicates that they're recommending the approval of the final plat and the dedication of the improvements, excluding the detention basin and the stormwater management and design. Fairgraham is unable to confirm that the development complies with the city's stormwater management criteria as required by city code without additional data and review. So those are the two reports. neither one of you needs to say anything, but Brian, is there something that I know that Steve G. wanted you to attend, and if there's to answer questions that we might have, is there anything that you want to add to what we've been talking about thus far? You need something up there, or?
No, I think Matt's done a fine job to put together the information. Steve, unfortunately, was not able to be here tonight, so he just asked me to be here to answer council questions when it came to the approval of the plat. So that's my purpose in being here.
Okay. What,
Does Crawford have more information than what Fairgrounds got?
about the water issue?
Yeah, we submitted a design, and Fair Graham reviewed that design. Like the letter indicates, all of the construction was done in accordance with those plans. The only thing that's different is there was a pipe there that nobody knew about. The city didn't know about it. Steve didn't know about it. There was no easement for it, and we obviously didn't know about it.
Right.
When that was discovered, it's an uncharted utility. We deal with these a lot in undeveloped area and in developed areas, frankly. You're to return, as an engineer, you're supposed to return that utility to its service, which is what we did. We were able to essentially work around it and leave it in service. It happens to pass through the detention facility, and as a public pipe, or a city pipe, if you will, Steve was not inclined to adopt that pipe and the complexities that went along with it. So he did not engage our services to analyze that and do computations and those kinds of things, other than to our satisfaction, to ensure that the pond would still function. And in fact, the pond will still function as that 30-inch pipe goes through there. There's 30 inches of water coming in. We've allowed 30 inches of water to go back out. And as that water comes into the detention pond and the pond fills up, the outlet structure that we designed will actually take water out to the 6th Avenue ditch as designed. So there was, I think at some point there was some suggestions that perhaps part of that 30-inch outlet pipe should be blocked, and we do not agree with that analysis.
If you block that pipe, what would happen to the water flow then? Where would it go? I mean, are you talking about on the north end or on the south end?
It has on the south end.
So I'll speak to that, because myself and Matt Chesmore are the ones that made that suggestion. We were thinking there's two reasons to allow some sort of water to head north through that existing 30-inch pipe. The main reason is there's everyday water flowing through it right now. So if you block that northern pipe entirely, that's going to cause that detention basin to have water in it all the time. That's not the purpose of that basin. That's one piece. The reason that Matt and I were talking about potentially doing some sort of orifice or a 6-inch opening or something would be to allow that everyday water through, but then cause that water to build in that detention basin and then outflow through the outflow structure so that the basin would function as close to original as possible. I'm not an engineer, though, so that's why I'm looking, reviewing you guys. It was just an idea, was all it was.
Sure, and the ramifications of that is that you're asking a detention pond that was sized for 9 acres to all of a sudden become a regional detention facility where it's not sized to take on that additional 9 or 10 acres of water that would be flowing through there. So like I said, we would not recommend impeding the flow of that water that's always gone there, or since the Pines First Edition was built. Evidently, that pipe was installed to go through there, unbeknownst to anyone who's been involved with the project. So
Brian, let me ask you a question. So we know we've got some water coming from the south through this 30-inch pipe. Where else is water coming from that would be going into this retention pond besides from the south, other than normal rainfall? If you know.
That's it. I mean, from our development, we've installed Steve's contractor has installed a sophisticated storm sewer system on Bluebird Court, and that gathers the runoff and directs it to the detention pond.
Okay, so that would be
other than that,
so that's coming from the west to the east then?
Yep.
Across the, okay.
west to east, yep. So we've cut off, I would say close to 70% of the water that used to flow through those backyards. And we've basically put that in storm sewer pipes, and we're sending it to the detention pond.
Okay, obviously, I'm not an engineer, as you well know, but what's the size of the pipes that would be coming from the west to the east that would be going into this retention pond then? Is there?
They vary from 12 up to 18 inch.
And are we talking about 2 or 3? Are we talking about a large number of them? What would your best estimate be?
For
Well,
Bluebird, there's only
cross-
2.
Yeah, there's cross pipes. I mean, the entire storm system, there's cross pipes at each intake, and then there's longitudinal pipes that run down and enter into the detention pond.
Is it the expectation that there'll be any water that's be running from north to south that would be coming into the retention pond, other than what might be dropped by the rainfall itself?
No, other than just runoff.
Okay, and we know that 6th Avenue is on the east side, so there wouldn't be any water coming from the east to the west coming into the pond as well?
That would go into the ditches. Yep,
Okay.
From 6th Avenue.
Unless the ditches overflowed themselves, which is unlikely, or we hope it's unlikely, there wouldn't be any water coming from the east to the west then into the retention pond either?
No.
Okay. Okay, anybody else have questions for Brian?
Yeah, so Crawford Engineers and Steve G are going to, excuse me, be responsible if those property owners flood out there?
I don't think that we can quite say that, Deb. I think we can talk about that a little bit further, but I don't think that that's a question that Brian can answer or would want to answer.
No, what I can tell you is that our design exceeds the city's standards. We went above and beyond what the city stormwater policy calls for when we did the original design, and that was what was built. So.
The property owners want the answer, and it's up to city council are representing the citizens, and so we should help them out with the solution if there's going to be a problem out there.
Well, I think we're going to talk about a solution in a couple of minutes once we get through what the problem itself is. But in answer to your question about legal liability or something like that, I don't think that that's our place to be talking about that specifically.
And Steve, as he has built those condos, he has informed us that he has actually shot elevations out there on Spruce to confirm that the areas between the houses, when he finished grading those, that they are lower than the finished floor elevations of each of those units. So he has gone to that work and confirmed those elevations. As far as the Spruce, the condos along Spruce, that development was designed by Fairgraham. So they can probably speak better to the stormwater calculations and the design that they went to at the time that they put that development together. There is a pipe in the backyards of the Spruce condos that takes runoff, and it goes from south to north up to Spruce and then on to tributaries to the Wapsipinicon.
Okay.
How high does the water have to get in that detention pond in order to cross 6th Avenue? Because that's a very large pipe under 6th, isn't it?
Yeah, so we have an overflow spillway that goes from the detention basin out into that ditch, and then it gets into that large pipe that goes across and into the creek.
So that should handle any overflow on the detention?
Yes. Yep.
What is that, 40, 50-inch pipe underneath there?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, Mike.
But just looking, I've walked it, so when I looked at it, it's large.
It is, yep. It's
And the
it's
detention-
significant.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the
Much
ditch-
larger than the 24-inch pipe that would lead to it from our detention pond. Yep.
And the ditch is 13 feet deep.
That's quite possible. Yeah.
It is, I measured it.
Yeah.
We had a neighbor in there that had their child was playing along there and fell. They were complaining about the height of it and wondered what the measurement was, so I measured it. It's 13 feet from the bottom of that tile ditch. to
Yeah,
the-
that's a natural drainage way that carries significant water, has the capacity to carry significant water.
Okay,
Brian.
other questions for Brian?
Brian, can you answer when you're talking about SUDAS, which we've adopted, when they're going through and they're doing elevations and things like this, there has to be a standard rainfall per hour that they consider to be within guidelines of something like this. Is it as easy as to put so many inches per hour or a measurement per hour in this situation that this design is?
They deal with rainfall intensities and the storm event, the duration of an entire storm event. So what we're designing for is a 100-year storm event. So what that means is that storm has a 1% chance of happening every year.
Okay.
It's not that it only happens every 100 years,
Right.
every 100 years. And we have had, since 2017 out there, I know that we've had some 11-inch rainfalls that the systems that are out there have handled. So I think the systems that are in place have been put to the test out there and they've passed the test.
So the answer to that would be 100-year rainfall amounts. Okay,
100-year
perfect.
rainfall event, correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, other
And
questions?
it does sound like with the drainage that's being put in and everything, you will actually have better drainage at the end of at the end or completion of the project versus what was currently there.
Absolutely, that's a great point. Yeah.
You know, it's not like we're adding to the problem. It's actually going to be covered and a lot better off
Made
at
it significantly
completion.
better, yeah. If we had that 100-year event that Brian was just talking about before Steve G's development, you would have that entire 9 acres draining to the north.
Mhm.
Now we've cut that off. That water is going to be cut off by the roadway paving. It's collected in the storm sewer system, and it's routed to that detention pond where it can be slowly released.
So you've got multiple ways of the water flowing now versus, or then once the completion is versus the way it is now.
Yeah, it's a huge improvement to the drainage.
Absolutely.
The development becomes a huge improvement for the drainage situation out there, you bet.
Brett, did you have any questions for him?
I don't know.
Okay,
All right?
thank you, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, so just for clarification for people that might not know, because Crawford Engineering is the engineer for the developer itself, there's a conflict with him representing both the city and the developer. So what we've hired Fair Graham on behalf of the city so that they can evaluate this from the city's perspective as opposed from the developer's perspective. So Sam, do you want to come up, introduce yourself? And
Sam Earl Fairground, nice to meet you all. So yeah, kind of was discussed, reviewed the preliminary and final plat construction plans. Say reviewed the initial stormwater management plan that was kind of put out there in the design for the detention basin did exceed what the city had. Was able to detain the 100-year and release at the 5-year rate. So that was good. And then, like say, there was that 30-inch pipe that was found. So with that 30-inch pipe coming in and leaving, it kind of changes the design of how that detention basin will function. So we just can't say with certainty, that what's out there currently as built will meet, what the city's stormwater management policy is. So I'd say without running separate calculations, because like say the original detention basin was designed to take the 9 acres, and now there's more water coming into that, which is, not sure what the area of that 30-inch pipe covers. But, for instance, if there's a 10 or a 25-year rain event, does that just flush out that 30-inch pipe, or will there be any retention, and how much of that will be detained? If there is a 25-year event, will it be detained and only released at the 5 or the 10-year rate? So that's just some of the stuff that we can't confirm without kind of knowing more information or having elevations and knowing what the drainage area of that 30-inch pipe is.
so Sam, let me ask you, so in terms of the project itself and the final plat, Fair Graham is recommending that the city approve the final plat, correct?
Yep, so we had a letter, basically, everything else, there was a few things Ken we had noted in our original final plat review letter and said, we recommend approval, given that everything is completed to the city's satisfaction. And then the last caveat was just the detention basin, because like I say, we just can't say for certainty how that's gonna function and if it meets for sure this, city.
So what does Fairgram recommend that we do in order to obtain that certainty so that we know what would happen based upon this retention basin and the new information?
Yep. So we obviously, like I say, we have the calculations Crawford put together for the 9 acres. All that stuff is good, looks good. So it's just be figuring out what is the drainage area of that 30-inch pipe and how much water is coming in there. And then kind of to Brian's point, it'd be a detention for not just that development, but whatever that pipe is coming from the south. So it'd be a bigger area. So likely that detention basin is no longer going to, hold a 100-year event because it's taking the water. So it's just figuring out, okay, maybe would that hold the 50-year event for the whole entire regional area, and then what can we release it at? So it's just depending on how much water is coming additionally in that 30-inch pipe from the south.
Okay, so from my lay perspective here, the retention basin we knew was going to be handling the water that would be coming from the west to the east, correct? We didn't know that we were going to have the extra 30-inch pipe with bringing water from the south to the north. Would that be an accurate way of saying it?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And so you're thinking that, or Fairgram is of the opinion that we should look into that further just to make sure that we're not having an excess of water in the retention basin based upon how much the 30-inch is going to contribute to the basin over and above what is already going to be coming from the existing west to east. Is that?
So basically right now, as we're thinking, it's not going to detain much water. So we don't know if it will meet what the city stormwater policy is. We don't know if it'll meet that criteria. So that's why we can't give you a recommendation to approve, because we just don't know if it's going to meet that criteria. We know it did before, and it exceeded that, but with the addition of that pipe and the 30-inch pipe going out, we don't know, exactly what that's impacting and what the flows will be.
Okay. Do people have? Do you have questions for us?
The only thing I was going to say to that is I know that we have this concern about it. Steve G didn't know the pipe was there. Crawford didn't know the pipe was there. To me, and this is only my own personal opinion, I think there needs to be some more analysis done on it, but I feel like that's the city's responsibility to do that. I don't feel like it's Steve G's responsibility to pay for it when he didn't know that the pipe was there, and the pipe obviously was installed from a previous subdivision, so on and so forth. But that's just, again, my own personal opinion. So, and I don't know.
Yeah, there may be no negative impacts. It's just
it could come back and say it's fine.
Certainty that it's going to function per city stormwater policy, and that no issues.
Wouldn't there have been a water study done when the Pines was put in? Because I'm guessing that's where this 30-inch line comes from, is from the original development of Pines.
It comes from the first and second edition somewhere down there, yes. Was there an analysis or a stormwater design done? I'm sure there was some sort of stormwater design done, because there's obviously stormwater system there. Did that stormwater design meet the current criteria? Likely not, because I don't know when our existing, at the time this plat was started, or this subdivision was started, our stormwater design simply was the simple, very like a one paragraph stormwater design or a stormwater requirement. It wasn't
Understood.
significant enough to really be what it should be, like it is now. So I don't know is the real answer.
Okay.
And whether or not we have those plans, I don't know the answer to that either.
So basically that would need to be reassessed.
I think it's going to have to be looked at. Yeah, you're going to have to do some area calculations. You're going to have to figure out where the stormwater currently is at. You're going to have to figure out break lines, because some of this, I'm sure, drains to the south to Triangle Park, which is the pond that's down there. So, I mean, there's going to be some that drains that way, but you're going to have to figure out how that all drains and where it all goes, and where, how much comes through that 30-inch pipe. It's also possible that 30-inch pipe may not ever be completely full. We don't know without doing that analysis and figuring all that out.
When you're talking about the 30-inch pipe coming from the south, draining the water to the north, didn't you mention something about there was also a 30-inch pipe on the north side that went out into Spruce?
It's both, yeah. So the pipe used to run directly north-south where the detention basin is at.
Correct.
And when the detention basin was dug up and built, They simply intercepted that pipe on the north side and the south side. The south side was redirected to allow for additional development with Steve's piece that he's doing on the south. But yes, there's a 30-inch pipe that comes into the detention basin on the south side that brings water in. There's a 30-inch pipe that goes out of the detention basin on the north side that takes water out. There's also a small, I don't know if you'd call it a swale, but it's kind of graded between the two of them to keep the daily water running through there rather than going into the rest of the basin.
So, the way I look at it, and I'm not an engineer in that at all, but if you got 30-inch pipe that was running water north from the south side, and you still had a 30-inch pipe that took care of that water before, nothing there has really changed. You still got 30 in and 30 out. The only thing that's really changed is now you have a retention center, and to my understanding, that has a 24-inch pipe in the retention center, which is an additional exit for more water to go. So that 30-inch pipe, when it's coming in and going out, the same as it did before.
Yes, I agree with that.
Or what am I missing?
The issue that I see there, and I'm not an engineer, so Sam you or Brian, either one of you can tell me if you feel differently. The thing that I see is that 30-inch pipe is coming in at say at an elevation like this.
Okay.
Your detention basin floor is here, right? If that 30-inch pipe wasn't there, the detention basin would fill until that outlet structure was overcome.
Correct.
And then it would flow out through that 24-inch pipe.
Correct.
Now, there's no detention. As soon as water starts coming in, it's flowing out that 30-inch pipe to the north. So now your time isn't there. What you had, the whole reason you put a detention basin in is to collect all that water and slow the release down so that you're not overflowing or overloading other systems downstream. That's not there anymore because now all the water that comes from this whole area, including Bluebird, immediately goes out that 30-inch until it fills.
So overloading that 30-inch pipe on the exit side, that's what runs into the tube that goes underneath 6th Avenue and then heads north to the river through that ditch and everything.
Yes, correct. But we don't know if that pipe is completely full or not. Now, the statement that the 30-inch pipe coming in can only bring in a certain amount of water and can only take out is absolutely correct. That's just basic physics.
Right.
But when you get into the design and the water elevations and all that, you have time of control, you have time of concentration. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into the math of that. And that's where, I mean, to me, we've hired Fair Graham to review this for us, and if they don't feel like they have enough data to say, yes, this meets our criteria, I'm not going to argue with.
Oh, I'm not saying not to go ahead and you get more data. I was just trying to analyze, if you had 30 in and 30 going out, you still got 30 in and 30 out. The other one is just different.
You do, it's
But
just
that
filling the basin much faster.
that basin is going to set a hair higher than where that 30-inch pipe is flowing through. So therefore, that thing has to overflow before the retention basin actually collects, it does its job. Right?
The 30-inch would have to be completely full before the detention basin could perform
Can do its job.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the estimated cost, additional cost for us?
For a study or analysis.
I don't have that offhand. Like I say, we'd have to talk with city staff and see the scope of area and they'd want to look at and then determine. Like I say, we haven't gotten that far. I know it was kind of mentioned, but we talked to Matt Chesmore and said, if you want a proposal, we can prepare one. But at that time, we didn't look into that any further. So we'd have to look and see and try to figure out roughly where the intakes are to the south. That would be the additional drainage area, and then try to go out and get some field information on that. The 30-inch pipe, one of the things too, I guess, is the elevation. That maybe that 30-inch pipe is half full and might start going out the control structure that was designed for, and maybe that pipe doesn't even get full and it starts going to the overflow. That's one of the things we don't know either is what's the elevation of the top of that 30-inch pipe in respect to the overflow as well. So I mean that's just.
And I don't think it's necessarily, and again, Sam or Brian, either one of you can correct me from an engineering standpoint, but it's not necessarily the huge rain events that we're really that concerned about, because to that point, you're still going to have a 30-inch pipe coming in, a 30-inch pipe going out. At a major rain event, it's going to fill up and it's going to function that way.
Correct.
But in a 10-year or 5-year or smaller storm, you're not going to have any detention, because that 30-inch pipe is going to take it immediately.
It's going to take all of it, and the retention
Right.
sets, the
Right.
retention pond sets dry.
That's the concern.
Right. Is that fair?
Yep.
You don't have anything now?
I will just add that part of the final plat, Steve has granted the city an easement across Lot B, even though you're not accepting Lot
Right.
B, because that remains as part of the homeowners association.
Yes.
They maintain it. the city, he's granted the city an easement to go in there and do whatever it is you
Right.
would like to do.
And a lot of that was because.
Thank you, Brian.
A lot of that was because in conversation with the city attorney, because now there's public water coming from Juniper, we now need to have some sort of easement there, because, if there was ever a clog or something like that, that the HOA couldn't get there fast enough to deal with it, we've got to be able to get there and deal with things.
Other questions for,
What's the elevation difference between where that 30-inch pipe is versus the elevation of the retention pond? I mean, what's their depth difference?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Don't know, say we didn't shoot any grades.
Brian, do you happen to know?
I could give you an estimate of maybe 14 to 16 inches.
Between where that pipe is above the retention or below the retention?
The pipe is below
Below the
the
retention.
majority of the detention.
Other questions for Sam?
Something that just crossed my mind, I could be totally off bar because
Your
I'm not an engineer.
recommendation would be additional study to see
Yeah.
what the amount of flow is from the previously hidden 30-inch pipe.
Right.
Yeah, yep, because if the city, we would have to look at that and see before we would say, okay, yep, everything's functioning fine, or then determine, okay, maybe it's not meeting the city stormwater policy, what can be done to get it so it can, meet the policy or help detain some of that water. Obviously, say with the addition, don't know if, how much we can meet or what can be done, but look at that, and like I said, maybe if the council decides to leave as is, maybe there's no issues, but we just can't say one way or the other how that will, function based on.
The only thing I was thinking is there a possibility of a T intersection coming off that 30 to flow water into the detention center? So that way it's all that flowing down the 30 and that way some water actually goes to the detention or not?
Well, it all goes into the detention right now anyway. That 30-inch pipe comes in and it all goes in the detention basin. What you could potentially do to keep it out of the detention basin is intercept it before that and reroute it, but then to Brian's point from earlier, you're messing with an existing utility because the existing
Right.
utility went
Okay.
through there before.
Okay, I was just,
Okay. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
So council, there's two things that are going on here. One is that we're here to approve the final plat for Steve for this, the Pines third edition. And so the motion itself is just to make that approval of that so that he can move forward with the construction and the sale of the properties. As Brian mentioned, there is this issue about the homeowners association taking over the retention basin itself, which is common in the city. So there are two parts of the resolution itself which you'll be voting on. The motion itself is just to approve the final plat, third edition, to authorize the mayor to sign the attached resolution. So I want to go over the points of the resolution itself so that you understand exactly what you're voting on to approve or to not approve. So the first part of it is that it's approval of the final plat of the Pines third edition, Independence, Iowa, approving the public improvements dedicated by the developer as set forth in the final plat itself, and you're accepting those with the understanding that Lot B, which is the retention basin, the stormwater retention lot, and all infrastructure appurtenances associated therewith are neither dedicated nor accepted and shall be maintained and managed by the homeowners association as established for this addition. So the first part of it is the approval itself for the plat. Second part of it is additionally all the required information.
Can I clarify?
Yes, please.
So the first part that the mayor read is what was included in the packet and what was in the agreement. And then today, through conversations between the mayor and myself and the city attorney, we've got an additional piece that we think needs to be added. The resolutions are able to be modified by the council as you approve them, as you review them in a meeting and approve them. When we include a resolution in the packet, it is a draft document. It is not a finalized document. So the decision point on this is whether or not the council would like to include the second part of this, which way you guys would like to go.
Okay, so here's the second part of it is, absolutely. Additionally, all required information for the city's engineer, which would be Fair Graham, to complete the analysis of Lot B and to confirm compliance with stormwater criteria of the city shall be provided by the developer's attorney, that's Crawford.
Engineer, developer's engineer.
Yeah, developer's engineer, as soon as possible. This includes additional study of the existing facilities if needed to complete this task. Should any additional modifications be required as a result of that review, the developer shall work with the city to address those concerns as quickly as possible. Need me to read that again, or does everybody understand what we're doing? So I'm going to recommend that, in terms of the study itself, that we set the study issued for the next work session, which would be the first Monday in March. And at that point, we would talk about the study itself and what would be required of it and the scope of it, because this is just between what we've been discussing, but there's been a lot of concern of the neighbors in that area about other things that are going on with regard to water issues, and the thought process is depending upon the scope of what we do with regard to the retention bases, can we expand that scope at the same time to also look at some of the surrounding areas and look at the surrounding areas and determine whether there's something that we can do now as far as this goes to that'll help alleviate some of the concerns and problems for some of the other neighbors that exist over and above what would be part of the Bluebird Court aspect.
Well, and if Old develops the east side of the road there, that's going to be an additional flow.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So
that
so there's nothing
there.
on the agenda tonight to talk about approving the study or the scope of the study or anything like that, so that would go to the work session. What's on the agenda tonight is to approve the plat and to approve the issue of
That's
the developers-
That's being added on to the resolution.
Yeah,
So it's all voted on one vote, covers both.
That is correct.
So the motion that was brought forth at the beginning, and you correct me if you feel differently, the motion that was brought forth at the beginning was to approve the resolution that was in the packet. If the council would like to go this way, we need direction from them to include this language. Is that fair?
I think that
I think that would be correct.
I think
So Mike, you need to amend your motion to add the addition onto the resolution.
Okay. I'd amend my motion to include the additional information brought forth during this discussion.
Okay, thank you. And who had the second?
Prasad did.
Brian did.
Second.
Are you okay with that? Okay, further discussion. Sorry, I can't do that. Further discussion with regard to this particular resolution then.
The only discussion I have is with that it being added on, I think it's the right step to take because we're approving so certain things can continue on, but we are also going to be overlooking some possible additional changes on the landscape of that area on B. So it's as far as I'm concerned, it's good to go.
Deb, did you have a comment?
No.
Matter, Mike? Brett? Anything else, Ralph? Anything else, Matt?
The only thing I would say is that this helps us deal with the situation related to Lot B in this development. To me, the discussion about, on the March 2nd meeting will be about a bigger discussion of do we want to analyze the whole area, not just Lot B.
Correct.
And I think knowing what we've heard from the residents that we need to consider that.
Absolutely. Okay, call for a roll call vote then.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Brusader,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. That would be everything that's on our agenda, so then I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0, and then we stand adjourned. I'm